I'm Elizabeth McDonald, ready for another We're Not Done Yet conversation, this time with retired United Church minister George Lavery. George, over your years of active ministry, you were engaged in all kinds of different ministries. You worked in congregations, you worked with two conferences, you worked in the General Council Office in the Division of World Outreach, you were involved in interim ministry. You're retired now, Minister Emeritus at Edith Rankin United Church in Kingston, Ontario. You're retired, but you're not finished with ministry yet. Over the last 4 years, you've been involved in a different kind of ministry, developing some devotional resources. Can you tell us a little bit about those resources?
Yes, I've enjoyed the opportunity to reflect on the past as well as the present, and look at both the dilemmas and the possibilities and the exciting resources that are available to us. And so the first one was foundations of our faith. And I thought that these are some basic tenets of our beliefs. I thought that would be helpful just to review that. And then the second one was conversations with the soul, because I thought some of the most important conversations we have in our whole life are the conversations we have with ourselves. And so I thought I'd reflect on that. And then the third one, the present one, is faith perspectives, looking at different faith perspectives of people in very different circumstances, and then seeing how that is related to Scripture. For me, the Scriptures have always been a very important resource, and I'm just so happy that we have that wonderful legacy of the Scriptures, and I find it very relevant for today.
Well,
So
we are in a time like no other. So for you to be exploring the faith perspectives, the experiences of people in different times through the lens of Scripture, I can't think of a more timely resource for us today in the middle of a pandemic.
well, it certainly is a critical time, because in this pandemic, everything is sort of turned upside down. And so we have to find out, what are we about? What do we really want to be about? And how do we do that? Facing immense challenges and different ways of living than we had experienced before. So one of the ones that I really came to my mind is how do we go about living during this pandemic? And so what came to me is a passage in the book of Colossians, a letter of Colossians, and it talked about things that we need to do. And here's just a little. I did a little image of that, which was a graphic that I created that seemed to integrate what the author was talking about on essential clothing for followers of Jesus. And I thought, this really speaks to me, what to wear during a pandemic.
Oh my gosh. So can you say a little more for
Yes.
followers of Jesus? What should we be wearing in this pandemic?
Well, I think that the key is found in this book of Colossians, where he says, compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, all of those, but they are all found within the circle of love. And so that is really the clothing. To me, when I look at our situation about clothing, our outer clothing is often an expression of our inner attitude or inner feeling, our inner spirit. But this is the inner clothing, that finds expression in our relationships with others. And it makes a difference between living in heaven or hell.
So that's one of these devotions in this newest resource of yours. Can you share with us another one of the devotions?
Yes, there's another one. And what I've done in these devotionals is I've combined most of them with pictures, most of which I took myself uh, in different places and at different times. But I thought, I want to combine the picture with something that relates to the scripture. And here is one that it may not be too easily discerned at this distance, but it's a picture I came across when traveling in Germany and in the Bavarian city of Regensburg. um, I came across in the downtown area this large mural painted on a wall back in the 16th century. And it showed David and Goliath
Hmm.
and the two opponents. And that comes from the 17th chapter of First Samuel. And I thought, one of the most powerful stories in the Old Testament. And how does a weak uh, person overcome a huge giant
Hmm.
with all the power that that giant has? So I thought, that intrigues me. What are the giants that we deal with in life? And what are some of the ones that we can, and how do we tackle it? How do we
A
deal with it?
lot of us, a lot of us will be able to relate to that sense of feeling somewhat inadequate, weak in the face of giants. What were some of the giants you identified as you thought about this?
Well, the giant, I thought it's a very complicated subject and a big subject. So I thought, how do I put it down into something that's more manageable? And I thought, I would like to focus on one giant, one societal giant. And that is the giant that I would call cultural captivity.
Mhm.
Captivity. So how we become captive to our own culture, because culture is something we learn from the time of our birth through our whole life, how we assimilate different values and beliefs, and it has to do with ethnicity, our religion, our way of life, and we judge what is good or bad, or what's important, or what's normal and what's not normal, all through the lens of culture. And I thought, culture is a thing that kind of we get captivated by that, and we have a hard time when we encounter people with different cultures. And today we live in a very global kind of society where there's all kinds of connections with all kinds of people, and and they come from different cultures. And so how do we relate to those people respectfully and carefully and lovingly? And so I thought, well, that's a very good topic to reflect on. And so I thought, that's what I want to focus on, this cultural captivity, and how do we uh, how do we deal with that, and how does the church deal with that? The church dealt with that in part in 1986,
Hmm.
the apology to the Aboriginal people that was delivered in Sudbury by the moderator Bob Smith at the time. And the words in that apology indicate or acknowledge the cultural captivity of the church as it came to evangelize and educate people in terms of our understanding of what was the right way of life. And so I thought that's a major topic, and I think we need to learn how to listen to people from different cultures. And so what I quoted people from who have different backgrounds. Michael Jean, the former Governor General
Former
of
Governor
Canada,
General. Yeah.
Perry Bellegarde of First Nations, um, and Joni Wilson-Raybould, former Attorney General of Canada, and Murray Sinclair, people like that. And I thought, if you really want to deal with cultural captivity, you talk to the people who have come from a different culture, or who are from a different culture, and you ask them to share with you their perspective. And if you're able to listen, which is the key, are you able to listen, then you will hear things said that are really important if you're going to break through this captivity and overcome the giant that threatens our well-being in our relationships. It threatens our not only our nation, but other nations. It threatens the global planet.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because that's what culture can do. You become trapped in your own perspective.
Well, there's
And
no question, George, there's no question listening to you that the devotional resource you've created, this Faith Perspectives, is rich and very relevant. I'm wondering, you you were ordained 53 years ago. I suspect over the years of ministry, you've used different resources that in one way or another might be similar. Can you imagine yourself actually conceiving and creating this kind of resource years ago when you were much newer to ministry? Or do you see this as somehow grounded in this moment of your own faith journey and your own ministry?
well, thank you for that question. I could never have written this kind of material when I was first ordained, because I did not have the experience, the knowledge, the insight, um, this, yeah, the spiritual awareness to be able to do that. And it's through the years that, and in many different contexts, that I have been able to discover what gives life richness and meaning and purpose and joy. And I think retirement has been a wonderful time for reflection. And I value that. It's 20 years since I've been officially retired. And I value the time for reflection as I'm engaged with other people in various ways that hopefully are helpful.
So, this period of reflection after years of active ministry has opened up a new and different way of serving the church.
Yes, very much. When I was first ordained, I imagined myself serving for the rest of my career uh, in various congregations in various places. And when I was ordained, it was back in the time of uh, transfer and settlement. So my first charge was in Cape Breton in Nova Scotia, 4-point pastoral charge. And so I saw myself uh, serving in various pastoral charges through the years, but that's not exactly the way it turned out, because I did that, but I both in Quebec and Nova Scotia and Ontario, but I had the opportunity to work in, as you said, in several conferences, uh, and that opened up my eyes to all kinds of possibilities. And so I just uh, went from there. I went from one perspective to another perspective to, and I loved every ministry I was involved with. I never regretted any place we have been. They've all been very rich, and quite wonderful, and I've learned quite a bit from each place. And people have been very patient and very understanding in my learning.
Well, George, now in your presence at Edith Rankin in this role as Minister Emeritus, it's pretty obvious you're not done yet. But I listen to you, and I also have a sense that God's not done yet.
No, God has, I have a long way to go.
Don't we all? George Lavery, thank you so very much. It's been wonderful to talk with you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I have really appreciate this opportunity, and thank you for doing what you're doing. I appreciate that.